What's up? Be Connect. How we doing? What's good, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're watching on the VOD, welcome. If you're watching live, welcome. I don't think we have anybody joining us yet, but maybe. The ghosts in the machine, for all I know. We're going to be doing our nerdy sermon talkback on Chainsaw Man today. And I am coming in hot. I mean hot. My brain, my poor brain, dude. Just can't handle all the things there are to do. I had to make dinner. We're doing a crock pot meal. And so just adding that into my morning, simply adding that one thing into my morning has absolutely messed me up. What's up, Jadeza? How we doing? Good morning. Good morning, good morning. How are you doing? How's your week? Is it a midweek high or a midweek low? How is Wednesday treating us? Just working, I feel that. Always working. I get it. Wednesdays are my tricky day because I take my daughter to dance in the afternoon. And so she's so young that the dance class isn't during after school. And so instead it's during school hours. And so I have to get her there. I have to get her there at 2:00. And that's just wild. That means my day's gone. That means because I got to go pick her up and get her there. It's a 30-minute drive to dance. And so that's 1:30 and I got to go get her. So I get her about 12:45, 1:00, drive her over there, get her to dance, sit in the parking lot for an hour, and then I get home. My day's gone. My day's shot, dude. That's all right, though. We get it done. Have a presentation today, so I'm a bit nervous. You got this. I also have a presentation today. That's why I'm wearing my fancy Checkpoint polo. We have a big meeting. A big meeting today at 10:30 with some of our funding agents at Checkpoint. So we're gonna have a stakeholders meeting today at 10:30. So I'll lift up a quick prayer for you in your presentation. You can lift up a quick prayer for me in our stakeholders meeting. It'll all go great. I actually wrote about it in our newsletter today. That this is just it's not a formality. It's a very important thing. But I used to be nervous about it, but now I see it very differently as these meetings are opportunities where I get to talk about y'all. I get to talk about how awesome our chat is, how awesome our Discord community is, the things that we're doing, the things that we're building. I get to kind of introduce them to the people that make this thing what it is. So it works. Sounds like my daily schedule. Well, I couldn't do it. It's only my Wednesdays, and it absolutely drives me bonkers. It is so much work. So much work. I like my time. I like working from 8:30 to 4:30, and it's just me. My wife actually is not a fan of the fact that I eat lunch out or have lunch delivered here, DoorDashed here as often as I do, because she's like, just take leftovers. And I'm like, no, that takes time. That takes time. You gotta prepare it and then eat it. I don't want to prepare anything. I want to focus on what I'm working on until food is at the door. I eat it as quickly as I can, and then I'm done. And that's how I feel about that. But yeah, it is what it is. Folks, question of the day. Sound like me? Yeah. Well, it's a busy life, a hectic life. But I love it. I'm also a very type A personality, and so I get things done. That's what I do. What's up, T-Bone? How we doing? Welcome in. Welcome. Question of the day is based off of our Chainsaw Man sermon. For those of you that don't know, you're going to know soon if you continue watching with us today. But Chainsaw Man dies very early and then is resurrected as Chainsaw Man. And so the question of the day was, who is your favorite undead hero or resurrected hero? And the caveat is, please do not say Jesus. Don't give me Sunday school answers. I don't need that. I want to know other heroes. Who's your favorite hero other than Jesus who's been resurrected into a more powerful form? I guess that's how I could have written it. How are you a type A as a writer and artist? Oh, I am exclusively a type A writer and artist. And the answer is, have you seen what I do? Have you seen my backlog? Have you seen all my things? I am meticulously organized in my creativity, which is disgusting, but it is the way I am. Like, I love Inktober because Inktober gives me a structure to be creative within. Oh, what a dream. I love NaNoWriMo because NaNoWriMo gives me a structure to be creative within. I'm living for a schedule. I love it. I'm here for it. Goku says Hunter Fan Mom right there with you. Goku was going to be my answer. I haven't actually answered it yet, but Goku's definitely up there for me. One of my faves. A box of Sunday School Answers game here. Yeah, I thought about buying it, but hoo boy. That game was expensive. That was a pricey game. I wasn't expecting it to be as expensive as it was. Ooh, I need to check our analytics. You guys need to check our analytics real fast. I forgot. I'm experimenting with shorts right now. And so I need to see how we're doing on all the things. Let's see. TikTok. Really am surprised at how well our sermons are doing on TikTok. 396 views. But even more impressive than views for me is we have 9 people that have saved that sermon. And I am intrigued. I'm intrigued. All right, now let's look at Reels. Let's see how it did on Reels. Not as good. Look, 47. Very, very interesting. I am curious. I'm so curious. All right. There you go. You got a peek behind the curtain. An 8-minute clip on TikTok it got 396 views, and it only got 47 on Instagram, posted at the exact same time of day. Fascinating. What I'm worried that my shorts research is going to study and discover is that I need to start posting things at different times, and I can't do that. I'm jealous of Nate's meticulous organization because I want that, but the executive function it requires to put that together is too much. It is too much. I'm very tired all the time. It's too much work, and sometimes I get overwhelmed by the amount of work that I put into things rather than getting the things done. I tweeted out the other day that I'm so tired of considering how long it's going to take me to finish a game rather than just playing the dang game. Back to work. Hope you have an amazing day today. You too, Jadeza. Good luck on your presentation. You got this. You got this. GG's for Jadeza, and the presentation is going to go exceptionally. I already know it. See, that's why I won the game instead. Also, if you ever want to borrow it, then let me know. Well, if we ever have any in-person checkpoint gatherings, then absolutely bring that game. 100. GG! I'll input for Jate's command since I don't have one of those. You guys don't have fancy things. One of these days, I'm just going to hand over the stream key to maybe 30 bats, and maybe 30 is just going to set us up. Going to do all the things. I'm just going to do all the things for us. This isn't Jade's channel. Yeah, but I did it. I did it, though. I did it. Would it help if I do it on the microphone? Oh, it's dead. No, it's not. GG! There you go. There you go. You got your GGs anyway. That is what you will discover. Different times of the day have different analytics. PTS Stress has already found that out. Right. And so I'm working off of TikTok's. I'm working off of TikTok's algorithm because that's the one that I like. I care about TikTok. I care about YouTube. I don't really like TikTok, but TikTok is it's such a huge market that I feel like if I don't tap into it, I'm being foolish. YouTube is what I actually care about. And so what I want to see is what times work on YouTube and TikTok, and then I'll always post at that time. I don't care about Instagram Reels. Sure, it's great if Instagram Reels pop off. I really don't care about Instagram. I couldn't care less about Facebook as a company. Excuse me, Meta. My bad. All right. Let's get into it, folks. We got to play some music. We're going to play a quick song, and then we're going to get into our sermon for today. So for those of you who've never been a part of this, which I think both of the people that are here have, but for those that are watching in the VOD, can Can you schedule when something posts? Sort of. It depends on the platform and the thing you're posting. Let's give it a, you know what? Let's give it a quick listen just to make sure that everything sounds fine. Just want to make sure everything sounds good. We always start by playing a song. This is a song purely for centering. This isn't a song necessarily for you to sing along with unless you just are feeling led. But this time is not really for that. It's more just to get us into a zone, because I don't know where you've come from. I don't know if you've been playing a game or if you've been, poning the noobs or whatever it may be. And so I want to give this as an opportunity for us to transition into, gonna head over to Lucas, I get ready for work. All good, T-Bone. See ya. So we're gonna play a song together just to kind of get in the right headspace, and then we're going to go directly into the Chainsaw Man sermon, and then as soon as it's over, open discussion, whatever questions we have, AMA, anything, everything, all things. But we try to start with a song. This is actually a song you may or may not have ever heard. This is by a band called Unhindered. They're a little niche. They're not crazy niche, but they're pretty niche. If you were anything like me and you grew up in the 90s and 2000s and you went to this thing called Winter Jam every year in Gatlinburg, Tennessee over New Year's, Unhindered was the house band. So Unhindered was kind of the new song of Winter Jam for Extreme. I said Winter Jam. Extreme Conference, excuse me. Everybody's been to Winter Jam. So the Extreme Conference happened in Gatlinburg every New Year's, and Unhindered was the house band, and I just always loved their songs. I love their stuff, and this was one of my very favorites. And this week's sermon is about the name of Jesus, and so there are a million songs about the name of Jesus, but this is one maybe you've never heard. So I thought that might be a good thing to let you hear and see if you've heard it before or if there's anything you can gain from it. So we're going to give it a quick little sound test. What's up, Chuck, by the way? Welcome. Glad you're here. And then we're going to get into it. Teach my eyes. Yep, sounds good. All right. We're going to get right into it and then immediately go over to our nerdy sermon. So I will see you guys after the sermon. This is No Other Name by Unhindered. Teach my eyes to recognize you. Teach my lips to glorify you. Guide my feet so I can find you wherever you are. Be my way, I'm lost without you. Be my light, shining through my every breath, my every move, till every thought is you. 'Cause one day every knee will bow to the God of glory, Lord most holy, Emmanuel, giver of life, light of the world. And there's no other name worthy of praise but yours. Teach my eyes to recognize you. Teach my lips to glorify you. Guide my feet so I can find wherever you are. Be my way, I'm lost without you. Be my light, shining through my every breath, my every move, till every thought is you. One day every knee will bow. One day every tongue will confess you're the God of glory, Lord most holy, Emmanuel, giver of life, light of the world. And there's no other name worthy of praise but the God of glory, Lord most holy, Emmanuel, giver of life, light of the world. And there's no other name worthy of praise, and there's no other name worthy of praise. No, there's no other name worthy of praise but yours. Look, I hear you. How on earth is there anything that a church could have to say about Chainsaw Man? An anime literally about devils, chainsaws, gore, and one of the pervier MCs we've seen since Mushoku Tensei. But make no mistake, Chainsaw Man is here to make waves and has already broken the internet, or at least Crunchyroll servers, several times. But we don't need to dive very deep at all into the plot to see that Chainsaw Man's lore provides us unique insight into one of the less discussed aspects of the Bible. We're talking demons, devils, and what's the true power of fear in this nerdy deep dive. What could a man fused with the chainsaw devil possibly have to do with Jesus? Let's talk about it. Folks, welcome to Checkpoint Church, where nerds, geeks, and gamers come together to talk about faith, games, and Pochita being the unequivocal best boy. I am your nerd pastor, Nate. If you like these weekly deep dives, be sure to sub, hit that bell, and find out when our next one drops. As always, we're going to be starting this one with our scripture reading by one of our level 2 members. This time it is going to be Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 13. As always, our reader is going to be reading from the NRSV UE. That's my preferred translation. It's what's going to be on the screen. If you have a translation you prefer, feel free to use that one as well. Today's guest reader is going to be Danny G. So with that, I'll go ahead and throw it to you, Danny.
They came to the other side of the sea, to the region of the Gerasenes. And when he had stepped out of the boat, immediately a man from the tomb with an unclean spirit met him. He lived among the tombs, and no one could restrain him anymore, even with a chain. For he had often been restrained with shackles and chains, but the chains he wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke in pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains he was howling and bruising himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. And he shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you done with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjourn you by God, do not torment me." For he said to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." He begged him earnestly not to send them out of the region. Now there on a hillside a great herd of swine was feeding, and the unclean spirits begamed him. "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine, and the herd, numbering around 2,000, stampeded down the steep bank into the sea, and were drowned in the sea.
I can't imagine how much clearer it could be by the title, but Chainsaw Man is a manga and now anime series following a man who is fused with a chainsaw devil to become, you guessed it, a chainsaw man. But of course, there's more to it than that. This series is set in a universe where devils are pretty much regular occurrences, kind of like giant pests. By the way, this is set in an alternate reality Earth in 1997, so it's at least somewhat grounded in reality, just without, the personified devils. In order to set up the story to make any sense, let's drop a quick spoiler alert for the first episode and just a brief line out of the third episode right here. Denji, our MC, is a for-hire devil hunter that works with Pochita, the definitely just a puppy and not a chainsaw devil in disguise dog. Denji rescued Pochita when it nearly died, and now the two have this unbreakable bond where they hunt together and just live the best life they can. Until, of course, Dingy dies. Yet Dingy gets brutally dismembered by a trickster zombie devil that uses the Yakuza to bombard him. Then while Dingy is in pieces in the dumpster, Pochita sacrifices his body and fuses with Dingy, weaving together his body and becoming neither Pochita nor Dingy, but Chainsaw Man, a devil version of Dingy. Chainsaw Man then wrecks everyone in the warehouse that murdered him, and just in time, or too little too late, potential best girl Makima shows up as a representative of the Professional Devil Hunting Association, the Public Safety Division. And she recruits Dingy as a dog of their company to hunt high-ranking devils. It's manipulative, cunning, and pretty gross, but she has mesmerizing eyes and pink hair, so it equals out, I guess. Anyway, this series goes to some bonkers places and will be one to keep an eye on. It's very likely going to be in the top anime of the year, at least this season. But what I want to focus on in this video is where the devils get their power from. In a quick aside, in episode 3, we hear about why Makima recruited Dingy and chooses to keep him on hand as a good dog for the Public Safety Division. She explains that devils get their powers from their names. All devils have a name, and whatever that name is determines the power they are given due to how feared their name is. Coffee Devil, she says, wouldn't be terribly powerful because coffee isn't very feared. But Dingy is the Chainsaw Devil, and well, not many weapons have a whole massacre in Texas named after them. So, Dingy's power is pretty immense, and that's what leads to Makima's curiosity. Just what is he capable of? Now, this whole idea of names being that which gives power to the devils feels pretty original, right? Well, not really. This is a concept at least as old as the Bible, and that brings us to our convo for this sermon. Let's go ahead and acknowledge real quick that this is a weird passage that we read earlier, but it's very important. I'm not totally comfy talking too deeply into demonology as I am far from the expert, but this story shows up in multiple gospels and is a big deal to Mark. So it's clearly there for some reason that I at least want to explore a little bit today. This passage starts with Jesus, who has just passed into the land of the Gentiles to do some ministry. They get fresh off the boat and are immediately confronted by this possessed man, who is well known in the area for his demoniac possession. He yells and self-harms day and night and can only be held down by chains. He's so strong. And then Jesus is just like walking by, and the demons inside the man immediately know who he is from a distance. This is already pretty remarkable. Countless times in the Gospels, we see the disciples and the normal people in the town not recognize Jesus for who he truly is, and this demon lunatic recognizes him from a distance. The demon then pleads, "Please, Jesus, don't torment me." Jesus calls out the unclean spirit and says, "What's your name?" And it responds that its name is Legion. Legion begs not to be sent out of the region, but instead into those swine that are gathered right over there. And then Jesus permits this to happen. Then the spirits enter those pigs, and those 2,000 pigs rush into the water and drown. Okay, that's so weird, right? There's so much happening that I don't understand. I don't know why the demon wanted to be in the pigs. I don't know why the demon immediately seppuku'd the pigs. I don't understand. Rather than try to dive too deep into all that stuff, let's just get the best bits out of a mess. First off, we know that the demons know Jesus' name. Second off, demons have names of their own. That's kind of revelatory. Third off, right after this passage, we know that the possessed man is okay and goes to tell others about what Jesus has done. We also know that the people of this town beg Jesus to leave, which honestly, if that were how I met Jesus for the first time, I think I can relate. Honestly, if I met someone and even one pig drowned itself the second I met that person, they're at least getting a little note on my phone, if not outright blocked. Anyway, what is going on with this weird passage? Why should we care about it? And what does it have to do with Chainsaw Man? Well, one of the most important recurring themes of the Bible is the power of the name. From the earliest passages of the Hebraic writing of the Old Testament, we see this over and over again. Names have meaning. When Jacob wrestles with God, he's given a new name. Abram and Sarai are both renamed upon bearing the child that will bear the future of the nation of Israel. It's clear that there is power in the names that we are given. This passage gives us two important revelations about names. First, that demons have them, and second, that Jesus' name is known. This is key information because it shows that with names come power. This is a powerful demon. He is many. In fact, this isn't just a demon, but kind of a cluster of powerful ones that have banded together in power. This demon is so powerful, in fact, that he must be chained up. He's noisy, uncontrollable, harmful. Enter Jesus. This powerful demon trembles immediately from a distance. There is no pause or dancing around in this scenario. This demon is spooked by the name of Jesus. This reveals that Jesus' name, too, has power behind it. We see this as well in the older scriptures. One of God's many names, Yahweh, is so well revered that it can't even be spoken aloud, but is carried in the breath. It's a revelation of a name. It's so powerful. This brings us to our Chainsaw Man concept yet again. What gives a devil in Chainsaw Man power is how feared that thing is in the world. Chainsaws are feared as a murder weapon, and so the chainsaw devil is a big old baddie. But think on the word fear for a moment. When we think of the word fear, we normally attribute that as a negative term. But the truth is, there are many times where the name of God in the Bible evokes a kind of fear in a good way. Less out of being afraid and more out of reverence. To fear is to acknowledge the power and humble oneself accordingly. We don't fear a chainsaw because it's inherently scary. It's just plastic and metal and gears. We fear it because we acknowledge our weakness to it. The sharp, whirring blade is objectively more powerful than our thin and fleshy skin. This is the reason why we love the spooky elements of Halloween too. Why else would we enjoy things like horror nights or scary festivals? We know that they can't actually harm us, so it's a chance to kind of laugh in the face of the reverence that messes with our minds. We aren't actually in a power differential in those spaces, and so we just go and laugh with friends because it's a fun thing to do. But in these real instances in Chainsaw Man and Jesus' life, these power differences exist, and the answer is clear. These names are powerful, and they are worthy of being feared and revered. It's true in the hierarchy of devils in Chainsaw Man, and it's true in the biblical naming system as well. If demons know that Jesus' name is worthy of being feared, then we should consider, what does that mean for us? So what does that mean for us today? What can we actually take away from this lesson? Hopefully this will be an interesting consideration as you consider the power of Denji watching this season of Chainsaw Man. It's always funny to me whenever I hear people talking about like Goku soloing Jesus or something like that. We had a troll comment something like that just the other day. But the truth of the power in these shows is that even the idea of these powerful people is just a concept. But the name of Jesus really walked among us and dwells within us today and evokes fear that makes the demons tremble even still. And that name is for you. If Jesus really is for you, if you really do matter, like we say in every single video, then who can possibly stand against you? Take with you the affirmation that Jesus really is more powerful than anything we can feasibly wrap our minds around. And that power really did say, I got this, and died for our sins so that we might be made clean and free. Take heart. Keep your head up and boldly walk forward with the assurance of a name with way more power than yours will ever have. So, whether you're a devil dog, a high-ranking public safety agent, or a fiend, know that you're always welcome here at Checkpoint Church. All right. There we go. There is our Chainsaw Man sermon, folks. I hope that you enjoyed. That's one of the ones that revolves around the power of the name. I appreciate Duck and Hunter Fam Mom for getting in the chat there, getting down and dirty with it. It's always fun to talk about names, to talk about the power of names. Names in the Bible are one of my favorite things to discuss. I think it's a really interesting topic and a thing to consider. I appreciate you saying that was a great message. I had a lot of fun putting it together. I have to say, so what we try to do at Checkpoint, what we try to do with these sermons in particular, I'm going to be totally forthright here with you guys and say that in addition to letting the Spirit speak into these things, I'm always trying to also consider what do people actually care about right now? Because I think that's where the Spirit is working, is in the things that people are already in. And so I always ask myself the question of like, what needs to be talked about right now? And then I consult that material alongside the exegetical process that I'm working through. I was worried about Chainsaw Man. I was real worried about Chainsaw Man. I had only read it. I'd read the first volume, really, maybe a volume or two. I knew a little bit about it. I was watching the anime and I was like, how on earth am I going to get any meat out of this? How am I going to be able to find any kind of redemption in this? And so far, my theory remains true that there really, really is something in all of this material. That's one of my biblical things that I've stood upon, my theological hills to die on, is that I truly do believe that a creative God can work through our creative things, and it remains to be true. Even with things like Chainsaw Man, there is still redemption, and I think that's just really, really cute, really cool. So Chainsaw Man. A bizarre story, a bizarre storytelling style, a bizarre mangaka, for those of you that do not know. This guy is not like professional. Hey team, what's up, Perry? How we doing? No gachapons today's Ando. I don't know how to reverse your gachapon. I can always just write it down so that you get the first one. It is an empty gachapon. It is very empty. I have not had a minute to myself. So I'll write it down. I do have some tea brewing here, and I'm very excited about that. Hey, y'all lurking. See you soon, Stained. God works all things for good to those called according to his purpose. Yeah, so one of our recurring things that keeps coming up in our conversations is a lot of people say, like, you shouldn't be looking at this material because it's satanic or demonic or whatever. And I just vehemently disagree. I just vehemently disagree that anything that is created can be that way. Let's just assume it would have been another bonus stream. I shall not. Xando is a gotcha. Actually, you know what? I'll make a gotcha page. It's okay, Perry. I got it written down. Don't worry about it. But I will do your movie game. Sure. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing to consider. The power of names. It's an interesting thing to consider, the power of all of these materials to be done so good. No, we'll just do a gotcha. You'll be the first gotcha. I got it written down. Don't worry. I got you. Okay. Good one. Okay. Yeah, this is a good one. A big rig trucker in a tank top fights ancient subterranean evil alongside a culinary luchador grappling in the name of Mexican orphans. A big rig trucker in a tank top fights ancient subterranean evil alongside a culinary luchador grappling in the name of Mexican orphans. There you go. So as always, folks, this time is an open time, an open discussion. If you have questions about Chainsaw Man, about the Chainsaw Man anime, the manga, the sermon, the names in the Bible, whatever you got, or if you just have questions about Checkpoint Church or about me as a pastor or about any big questions that are looming, whatever we got, I will do my best to answer. If I don't have an answer, be prepared for me to say I don't know. But if I do have an answer, then I would love to offer up this time for just general discussion and conversation and engaging with each other. Duck did mention right at the very, very beginning, about that I should be a worship leader, and I was for many years. And I still consider myself a worship leader. Yes, there are so many songs, Duck. 1,000 Names is definitely one. There are so many songs about Jesus' name. I went through so many options before deciding I would go with the one that I thought was the most niche. So as far as exposing yourself, I think that as long as there isn't blatant sin constantly and it isn't a trigger for you and you can turn it around to reach people in those worlds, I don't see a problem. Yeah, we agree. We have a whole video called Can Christians Watch Anime? And that really tackles it. Yes, the hint on the first one is Kurt and Carpenter. Kurt and Carpenter. I can try and come up with synonyms. Do you want another hint? I got synonyms. You'll get it? Okay. Well, you let me know. I'll do it. So we have a sermon call, or not a, well, it sort of was a sermon. It was like whenever we were first getting started with Nikki, and we had a little bit of leeway, and so I put together this Can Christians Watch Anime sermon, and that was our big statement, is like, the key word is can. That's what we try to address. Like, should you watch Chainsaw Man is not the question we're ever trying to answer. We're trying to answer the question of, can you? Is there something to be redeemed of it? And the answer is always yes. I won't play D&D because I know it'll take away from my life rather than add to it. And there are definitely people that will happen to, and others that it won't. Did you bring us cinnamon rolls? I did not. Big Trouble in Little Chinacho Libre. That's it. Chats in the clap. Big Trouble in Little Chinacho Libre. My hint was going to be huge issues in tiny country. Oh, that's fantastic. This is my Black Eldritch tea from the other day that you guys got me. Excellent. Black Eldritch. I can go read the container. Let me see. For those of you that missed it on Monday, the Checkpoint Church community got me for Clergy Appreciation Month a collection of D&D themed teas. And the Black Eldritch tea is a Ceylon OP black tea, mango flavor, and marigold petals. And I really taste that mango. That mango is exceptional. No, there you go. You can see the little tea bits in there. It was excellent. Excellent so far. Supposedly will give me a big boost, which I need because I didn't have my third cup of coffee today. So this is serving as my third cup of coffee. Should I be having 3 cups of coffee? No. No, but I got a big meeting. I got a big meeting, so I deserve it. I earn it. But yeah, I hope that you guys, 10:30 meeting, that's correct. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I'm trying to think. There were some things in this one that I thought were pretty bold. Can you bring me some coffee? I'll just mail it in. We'll do it overnight. We'll do overnight for you. There were some hot takes in this one. Next week's is going to be another one that is going to be hard to line up the dots. But I thought it was fascinating, right? This whole idea that the devils in this series are powered by their name. I think that's a really compelling concept, and it's very biblical to be powered by the name. Powered by the name that you have. Oh, I remember what I thought was interesting. Do you agree with my assessment of what fear is? I think my definition of fear is really interesting here, and I'm sure that it hasn't been properly assessed. So it's very possible that my definition of fear is lacking. But I defined fear as, let me see, I've got it written down. I defined fear in this as Cult of the Lamb, or this one, probably Cult of the Lamb. We fear because we acknowledge our weakness. Fear is an acknowledgement of our weakness. It is an understanding of the power of something there. To acknowledge the power of someone else and humble oneself accordingly. And so the concept of the chainsaw, right, that I argued is that the chainsaw is not scary. The chainsaw itself is not scary, right? It's metal, it's plastic, it's whirring parts and gears. What's scary about it is that it is stronger than us. Its metal would cut our flesh. That's what's intimidating about it. So the fear is an acknowledgement of the ability to cause harm, the ability to have more power than us. What's scary on the chainsaw is the blade, but even then, right, it's just metal. It's just metal. It's just a metal chain. It's not that the actual thing is scary. It's what the thing is capable of doing that we're not capable of defending against. Similar to the magic system in Ursula Le Guin's Earthsea series in a way. I don't know if I've read that. Knowing something's true name gives power. Is that, yeah, what is that? What was that where you had to, like, know its name? I've read up on the magic system. There's definitely something that sounds familiar there as well. But yeah. Get so cheered at a chainsaw at a haunted house. I did explain that. So that's also in the sermon. Towards the end, I mention that that's the reason that we love Halloween, is because it's a chance for us to mock fear. It's a chance for us to literally laugh at the reverence that we have. We're still getting that kind of innate, like lizard brain feeling of reverence for something that can cause harm to us, but the power differential isn't real in that space. In The Conjuring 2, they had to know the demon's name to take. Oh, that is definitely, it's not The Conjuring, but it was Mortuary's assistant. Fear and hope are the same but opposite. Hold, please, while I find the scripture I'm thinking of. Hold, please. There is definitely something to that demonology. Knowing the name of the demon cancels out the demon or whatever it is. Yeah, there's something to that. I get real nervous talking about demons because some people take demons real serious. It does kind of sound like hold music anyway. This sounds like it could be like, if we just put like a dial tone of like soft in the background. I believe it's been said today, but I dig the mug today. Yep, Zando and Hunter Fam, thank you. I appreciate that. When are we getting a demonologist on stream? Let's try never. I don't know. I'd sit down with one, I guess. I think I can have a conversation with just about anybody. I'm a pretty reasonable person. I'm not very abrasive. I think I could sit down and hear anybody's story. Comic series The Witch Boy also uses a similar true name magic system where you're essentially appealing to things by asking them to change or respond to you. Honestly, be a good conversation to have. Yeah, I have to admit, I'd enter it with a lot of skepticism. I'd have to really work on. I'd have to work on approaching it with humility. That would be a tricky thing for me. You guys remember Rumpelstiltskin though? Yeah, I read that story. We have a collection of classic stories in a storybook form for Nora, and I read them. Faith and fear, not fear and hope. Faith is hopeful expectation. Fear is anxious expectation. I tried to make those rhyme before realizing they were the same word. I was like, oh, it's like a little riddle or a little limerick. Helen and I read The Stinky Cheese Man. I've not read that in so long. I'm gonna go buy that literally today. Literally right after this, I'm gonna go buy that because I've not read that book in so long. I got AR points for that book, dude. Does everybody know what AR points is? Are we all part of that generation, or is that just me? Who had accelerated reading? Maybe we should do a poll. Should we do a poll? I'm painfully curious. I'm gonna run a poll. I've got to know. New poll. Do you know what AR is in school? Yes. Let's see. Let's give a couple options here. So yes, I participated. Yes, but I did not. Yes, but not when I was in school. Yes, but not personally. That means not when I was in school. No, never heard of it. 3 minutes on the vote. I want to know. I desperately want to know. Do they still have it? Does anybody with kids in school know if they still have it? Sneaky. Do your kids still have AR? Your kids might be a little old for it, though. It's elementary school, as far as I recall. There were points, y'all. There were. Or is that yeah? Such a good one. Yes, it is a really, really good one. Yeah, but there's a show I remember about someone having power over you if they learned your true name. I'm also thinking of that. They have a story called Cinder Rumpelstiltskin, which combines Cinderella and Rumpelstiltskin, and it's hysterical. I just got made fun of for reading a lot. Perry, did you point them to my direction? Because I read. Oh, you're saying back in school. I was going to say you just got made fun of right now, not back in school. That's how I read that. Augmented reality. I wish, dude. Man, if they'd had augmented reality whenever I was a kid, I don't know how it would have turned out. They still have it, but they don't emphasize it. I'm so fascinated. I'm so fascinated by this. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so curious. This is such an interesting concept. I just, you don't think about the fact that like other people had different school experiences than you did. I just assume everyone had lived the exact same childhood as me. My kids do something called SAGE, which is an advanced reading program at their school. Now, I was in AIG, Wasn't it called AIG or was it just called AG? I think it was called AIG. And that was the like the gifted kids that are now struggling to keep up. Man, what was it called? AIG? now I'm bugging about that. I am a gifted student. Yeah. Academically or intellectually gifted students performers show the potential to perform at substantially high levels of accomplishment when compared with others of their age, experiences, or environment. Yeah. Hey, AIG kids, how's the anxiety going? AIG is an insurance company. That's also true. We had something called GATE, Gifted and Talented Education, and man, did that put a sign on my back. Yeah. I was not the top of the AIG. I was like they got all the gifted ones. They scooped them off the top, the cream off the top, and then they were like, we need a couple more. So they dipped a little down deeper, and I was at the top of the rest of them. And I was like, thank you. But I was never considered for valedictorian, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. Is AIG related to the AOG? No, it is not. We had Book It, where if you read pizzas, we had Book It, where if you read books, you got a free Pizza Hut personal pan pizza. We had pizza parties, and I remember we did go to Pizza Hut one year. We were the class that won it one year. I think it was 4th grade. We did Book-a-thon. We did that too. Aragon? Just asking Aragon? I never read it. I read Harry Potter. That was my big point books. That was the trick to AR. Was you had to get a minimum amount of points each month, week, semester, something. And I would always do something that would get it done in one fell swoop. And it would always be Harry Potter. Who in here remembers the Scholastic Book Fairs? Now that is still going. The true name thing. Is Aragon where the true name thing happens? Look at Hunter Fam actually trying to stay on topic, man. Good for you. Good for you. Not going with the stream of consciousness discussion we're having here. I love it. Remember doing those in elementary school. Scholastic book fairs are still very much a thing. Duck makes things. They're also still very overpriced. But they're a lot of fun. We literally just got a Scholastic for Nora. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to order. The issue is that, like, to be frank, she's got enough books. She has so many books. But I also could say that about myself, and I still get myself books, so I guess I should get her some books. And it also supports the daycare. We'll probably order something, I guess. We stay on topic? What topic? Topic who? Let's see. It pissed off my teachers when we had to leave class and other kids made fun of us for being in the special program. Yeah, I remember there was some tension. Definitely some tension. But it is what it is. I feel bad for kids right now that are figuring out how to recover from a couple years of online learning, then back to integrated learning, then back to in classroom. It's just troublesome to keep shifting back and forth. I have no problem with online learning. I think everybody did the best they could. But I do feel bad for them because of the variance of education styles they've received. It's got to be a headache. I'm calling back to Cats the Musical, where cars have 3 names. Cats have 3 names. Learn for work. Got to go start an exam. See you people. See you, Sneaky. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. To be exact, Hunter Fam Mom is one of the ladies in here, and it's mainly us guys staying off topic. Are you saying because I said you guys? I just say you guys about everybody. Everybody's you guys. And dude. Everybody's dude. Everybody's guys. Everybody's folks. I need to work on saying folks more because that's definitely the more gender neutral. Or are we going to start doing the yins? I'm still about it. I'm still about yins. I'm willing to be from Pittsburgh. Dudes and dudettes. I used to say dudes and dudettes. Every now and again I will. It just takes too long. Y'all is another good one. I try to avoid y'all just because I say it so often, and Bweesh still lives in my head rent-free telling me that I sound Southern. I refuse. I refuse to sound like I'm from the South. Embrace the Southernness. No. Never. Just wait until y'all, if you ever hear me talk on the phone to my family, that's where it really comes out. Dude is universal. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong. I mean, I agree. I agree with that. But I don't know if it's objective truth or subjective truth. When you're sick, you get a southern accent. Duck, I would definitely say you have a southern accent. But I don't think I do. And so I refuse. I don't think I do, and so I'm mad about it. Oh, I won't say y'all. I'm sophisticated. I'm very smart sounding and not southern sounding. I can't be. I refuse. I refuse to sound like a stereotype. I got more of a northern accent being from Illinois. If you say so. Is not antithetical to smartness. No, it's not, but it is a stereotype. My parents are from southern Indiana and definitely have a certain way of speaking that I immediately fall into when I'm around them. Yeah, that's totally it. It has to do so much with the house you were raised in. Every now and again, we will. I'm not going to break the stereotype. I'm going to break the voice. There's so many good examples of whenever you hear that stereotype being broken. My favorite one in particular is S-Town. If you've never listened to S-Town from Serial, do yourself a favor. Says the New Jerseyite who refuses to call it wooter. Y'all yonder. Now, I definitely don't say yonder. I say reckon. I do say reckon, and I try my best not to. And I do say y'all a lot. But that's not normally how I'm going to refer to people for some reason. Y'all is almost always at the beginning. I never say, like, what do y'all think? Instead, I'll say, no, y'all settle down. I've never said y'all settle down. I've never said y'all settle down in my entire life. I've never had a reason to say y'all settle down. Settle down, y'all. No, I said at the beginning, y'all settle down. I love to say it, don't confront me none, just because it sounds funny. See, I don't know Indiana accents at all. Listen up, y'all. Yeah, I definitely would say that to a group of kids. I doubt I would say that to a group of adults. That's so weird, isn't it? Why do these words have ages attached to them for me now? And only in certain contexts and scenarios. Dude! You realize how weird language is? Oh my goodness. The codes that we build for ourselves, the expectations and the structures, it goes back, believe it or not, to the Sermon on Names. There is so much culture built into what we say and why we say it. English is broken. It is broken, but it's also beautiful and nuanced and interesting because of the fact that we have such variance for apparently no reason, but in fact, it's just because of the richness of the way we communicate. Duck with a top hat? Sure. You got it. Is it nice and sharpened? It is. Death Note, that's a lot of power over names, isn't it? Man, we're almost done with this sketchbook. Okay, Google, set a 90-second timer.
1 minute and 30 seconds. And that's starting now.
I still have so much time left. I'm already done with them. I'm already done. Duck with a top hat is just such a good visual. I feel like I needed no time to draw him. I guess I could work on his legs a little bit. But I feel like if I add too much more detail, it's going to become too much. Maybe he could be on the ground. And there's gonna be like a little lake behind him. All right, there's your duck in a top hat. Here he is. There's the boy. Here comes the boy. Hello, boy. Welcome. Uh-oh. He just broke off the pencil lead. Aw. That's very sad. Looks so good, thanks. Love it. One weird Southern thing that always sticks out to me is when they say like that, like at, like at, like at. Now, I'm not that at all. I've never been that. Wizard of Earthsea. Like there are people on TikTok that'll do like readings of those weird holiday cards or those e-cards that are like supposed to be Southernisms, and I don't speak like that at all. But again, as Perry said, it is not a connotation of intelligence, but it is a stereotype of intelligence. And those cards are an illustration of it. Do we need to talk about different types of waves in the South? Another fun thing about Southern Inn, and I assume other Southern areas, is restaurants asking you what kind of Coke do you want. Not here. Mm-mm. Ours are what are you having? Which sounds very New Jersey, doesn't it? Or what can I get you, sweetheart? Can I get you, hun? Coke instead of soda. We don't say no. We say soda or Coca-Cola. Some people say Coca-Cola. That's more often than Coke. We definitely have some Coca-Cola, but that's about all I can think of. Okay, I'm done. I can't find what I'm looking for. My instinct is to say Inuyasha, but I know that's wrong. Yeah, no, not Inuyasha. Inuyasha definitely has some good redemption though. That's very good. I could, if they would do a reboot of Inuyasha, I could do a sermon on it for sure. In the area where my family in Indiana is, you tell them you want a Coke and they ask what kind. Everything around here is Coke, not Pepsi, not RC, just Coke. I know what RC is, but I couldn't tell you where to find it. Like if you told me to go find some RC Cola, I would be like, what? Where? I don't know. Yeah. No clue where you didn't find it. It is funny how we have cultural drinks. You can find at the Dollar General in most states. Well, you can find those every couple miles. So, fun fact for those of you that don't know anything about the church planting world, at least in the UMC, we define where we put our next church plants based off of where Dollar General is going to be putting more of their Dollar Generals. We are studying their processes. We also consider how they make their metal buildings as a part of our church planting process, as being we should be building more buildings like they build, because they build them incredibly quickly and incredibly cheaply, and are able to do it in pretty much any location. Fun fact. Not necessarily every church developer does that, but most of the UMC is at least studying or working under some kind of guidance of some of the leaders of Dollar General. Old video store got turned into a Dollar General. It's a real bummer to see because it looks so dumpy now. Hey, I would rather Dollar General than a vape store. I wrote a blog about that. Our local Family Video got turned into a vape shop called YOLO, which is trendy. It's as trendy as Family Video. That's hilarious. Saying YOLO is just as trendy as a Family Video is nowadays. But yeah, it does make me sad to see a video store. And I waxed poetic in the blog about the fact that like this was a place where like childhoods were formed. Saturday nights spent, or Friday nights really spent finding the next game or video that you're going to watch, bringing it home and popping it in the VHS. Family Video is where I worked. There you go. Yep, this is a Family Video. I grew up going to Movie Gallery, but Family Video was definitely an important one. And Blockbuster was like royalty. Gonna go lay down now in hopes this headache goes away. I'm sorry, Hunter Van Mom. Hope it gets to feeling better. Feel better. God loves you. We love you. You matter. Back in town, the local family video got turned into a casino shop. What is a casino shop? Are you talking about like a web cafe? Are you talking about like a gambling hall? Like a sweepstakes room? That's hilarious. The other one got turned into a weed dispensary. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what a vape shop is nowadays anyway. CBD. Yeah, like a gambling hall. That's baffling. Every time I ever see one of those, it's as tucked back as it can possibly be to try not to get in trouble. Conversely, possible to focus on more of a rental/reuse model. Hate seeing new things stood up that then end up vacant boxes next to parking lots when that really messes up local economies and such. Oh, definitely. Yeah, to be clear, they're studying where Dollar General is building new things in like unpopulated areas, not where they're building new things in areas that are just already populated. And that's kind of the Dollar General model. I'm almost surprised when I see a Dollar General that does take over an old building. They're not really doing that anymore. Now they're building their metal buildings in the middle of nowhere. To the point that my old town that we lived in before this, Pelham, we don't even have a traffic light, and we have a Dollar General now. We've never had anything, but we have a Dollar General. Most vape shops are dispensaries. They totally are. We never went to Blockbuster, mostly due to proximity. We went to random mom and pop shops when those could exist, and then a local chain called Entertainment Tonight, then Family Video took over. I don't think I've ever heard of Entertainment Tonight, and I have certainly never heard of mom and pop video shops. I guess I'm too young for that. There was one that was maybe mom and pop, but I don't think so. I think we just had chains. Traffic lights are overrated anyway. Hashtag traffic circles, I guess. As long as you can find somebody that knows how to use them. I'm glad that you call them traffic circles because a lot of people in my neck of the woods call them roundabouts. I don't like roundabout. Makes me think of a merry-go-round. And then I feel like I'm having fun, and whenever I get there, I'm not having fun. So why would I want to think that I'm having fun? It's a lie. It's a lie. It's not fun. You get there and you discover that it is, in fact, not fun. It is a roundabout. Look at that. We're back to words already. Words, words, words. It definitely is called a roundabout by some, and that is definitely an adequate term. But it makes me think that it's fun, and I don't like that because it's not fun. I'm not having fun. Whenever I do a traffic circle, I'm not having fun. In my town, we don't got a traffic light, but has a Dollar General, gas station, post office, and antique shop. Though New Jersey has the dreaded jug handle, which we get teased for endlessly. I don't even know what that is. What is a jug handle? Jug handle bridge? Oh, Charlotte has started doing these. Charlotte has started doing these. Every now and again you'll find them. It's always very irritating. But, I mean, if they're effective, they're effective. I'm certain that some city planner somewhere has proved that they're effective. Ours are almost always on interstate, though. Or like, not interstate, but like just below, highway. Traffic circle is a series of T intersections with a circle road. Each T intersection may be controlled differently. A roundabout is a series of crossing intersections where the entering traffic is controlled by yield signs. The circle is striped concentrically like a bullseye. I'm probably going to keep calling it traffic circle. But I do respect that you brought the definition. The Buc-ee's that I went to in Kentucky had a roundabout, or traffic circle, in the parking lot. Blew my mind. This is the last thing we're going to read. I'm going to read Zando's message here. There was a random short-lived mom and pop shop by my parents' house that my brother and I went to a few times. I went with him when my brother rented Boogie Nights. That's how young? The owner looked at me and said, "You aren't going to..." Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. I didn't read the rest of the message, and that was exactly what they're saying. The end of this one gave me the splankies. We have no idea what splankies are. My mother and I used this term to that day. That's very funny. I wouldn't have said the Splankies. I would have said that I just hope that you're of a mature age. But yeah, I have no idea what that means either. I don't know if it was okay that I just read that on stream. Is that a word that I'm going to get tagged for, you know? All right, let's see if we got somebody to raid, folks. For those of you that don't know, we're Checkpoint Church. Church for nerds, geeks, and gamers. Oh, Jade's live. Jade's never live when we're live. We need to raid him. So we're the Church for Nerds, Geeks, and Gamers. We're building community online. Twitch is where we do our outreach, but all the good stuff happens over in our Discord, Discord in the chat if you want to be a part of that. We're there active 24/7, always engaging, asking questions, doing all sorts of fun stuff over there. So we would love to catch you on our Discord. Every Sunday we put up videos on our YouTube that we call our Nerdy Sermons or our Nerdy Deep Dives. We talked about that today. Last week's was our Chainsaw Man. This upcoming week, do you want the spoiler? You guys want the spoiler? I'll give you the spoiler. It's another anime called Blue Lock. So Blue Lock is the anime for this upcoming Sunday. I'm very excited to share it with you and to tell you more about it. If you like soccer, you're going to love this one. If not, then you're not going to like it. But anyway, with that, we're going to end this stream as we end all of our streams with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. That's what we're doing here on this Twitch channel, on our YouTube channel, and over on our Discord. And number 3, believe that you, yes, you matter. You're a person of sacred worth. The world is a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, we're going to go raid Jate to go spam a bunch of you matters in his chat, and I'll see some of you in approximately 29 minutes. All right. Until the next time I see ya, bye-bye!